I met a gypsy.
So how the whole thing started, right? So I had Chase on the podcast a while ago. I can't even remember.
Yeah, it was in 2021. I listened to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
So do you remember the bit where I was like, I was breaking down, I was like, okay, I want to break down your technique to you, and
I remember that.
I want to like see if I'm on the right track
Yeah.
here, because there was just this one video I watched of him, and I just was like pausing the slow, because I'm a
Yeah,
I love
that's good.
riding.
That's,
I
good.
love
That's how I am with rep ranges and intensity and same thing.
my brain. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Like I need shit to be like, I need to break it down, understand it, and I feel like once I can't see any holes in it, then I'm in.
Yeah.
And I can't unsee it, And so I was like, I pause it. I'm like, his kneecap is never in front of the front arch of his foot, and you could sort of like see him be
foundation.
like,
Yep.
He's like, yeah, it's foundation, it's
Yep.
founder. And then once I went after that podcast and I watched I'm pretty sure it was at your gym, like
Yeah, it was.
the video that Eric did.
It was both of those.
And I was like, that's the fucking that's the movement.
That's
like
it.
this dude literally invented the perfect movement for motocross.
Yeah.
Like that is, and if you watch Chad Reed and the Whoops, if you watch any of those guys, that hip hinge position. And the other thing that was kind of like the light bulb moment for me with that podcast with Chase, like been riding my whole life, and that just fully changed my riding life.
Figured it out. Yeah.
And he was like, when I'm riding, the most tension I feel is in my feet.
Yep. That should be.
And
that's why when people get tons of arm pump, I'm like, okay.
I don't get arm pump now. Ever.
Yeah, I know why.
Yeah.
Like
I use my bike now. Like all my weight is like behind my foot pegs and like centered around where like my knees are. And I'm not squeezing with my knees ever. That feeling of like putting in with you. I think that's the feeling that everybody would describe, or like when I was a kid, my dad would say, my dad was a good rider, he'd say, squeeze the bike with your knees.
Yeah.
But it's like that, the power, you have fuck all power in your hip flexors essentially to like bring your knees in. But that weight of hinging at the hips and pushing away and using the foot pegs as your leverage point, it's like the furthest part away. It connects to all of the posterior chain, and it locks you into the back of that motorcycle. Game changer. Complete game changer. And Chase was like the poster boy for it.
Yeah, because in the gym, we kind of turn that foundation over to that. Like if we're doing like a drop lunge in a Zercher position, like I'll look at their knee and go, okay, that knee can't change angle.
Yeah.
That shin has to stay in the exact same spot. Because usually when people go too heavy, they'll
go
shift
forward.
And they'll shift their hips back and they'll use their back to get out of the bottom. I'm like, you got to keep that shin. It does not move when you come out of that squat. And so it's just using, that's where the foundation, you can use it all. It just transforms over to the same, it's the same principles to lifting. And if, I mean, I like you with your position on the bike, I'm a total geek in the gym. It's like positions have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like if you're not, you can see someone that's doing, it's like, it's not a max. It's the reps you can do perfectly.
Yes.
Anyone can do a max and look like that's not a max. That's just a dumb. It's like, I'm saying, what's your max perfect rep?
Yeah.
Perfect rep, not max. Like,
what's the max weight you can move? It's what's the max deadlift?
Perfect.
And a deadlift is this thing exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a thing you can do that lifts the weight off the ground, but that's not a deadlift.
And I think that's where most people go wrong in the gym. They don't look at the technique like that, and they just don't vary their loads enough.
Yeah.
It's like 90% every fucking time. Every time. It's like, 5 reps, same weight. They don't, like I'll go 80%, 90, 75, one workout. You got to vary it. It should recover, and your body just doesn't like the same thing.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get stronger doing 90% of max every single time.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, I've seen it. I've tried it. It doesn't work. You see high school kids that every time they go to the bench press, they'd max out every single time. That's like 95% of max, and their just nervous system's going to get fried. They're never going to get stronger.
Yeah.
They'd be better off going at 80% and keeping there the whole time. Like the Russians do maybe 5 reps a week at 90% of max. That's it. And that's why they get so.
Needs.
That's all. I mean, you don't need more than that.
Well, I guess it's almost. I mean, it's a oversimplification, but it's almost like the zone 2 of.
It is
strength.
It is. You're going to get stronger doing. Keeping it about the 80. That's the sweet spot. 80 to 85% of max. You have to overload the tissue, but you can't. you can't do that high end, or you just got to vary it. Like they always say, by 10% every workout.
Yeah. I think Chase and Jet and Kenny are like this modern day example of like these kind of genetic freaks. They're probably going to start to dominate the sport just purely based on the boxes that they tick in terms of their physical criteria.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you think we sort of see that with Chase, like especially, or
Chase? Yeah. I mean, he's a freak in the gym. I'm like, every year I've learned from Chase needed to get a little more stable and strong. He had he broke his leg one year and he had a lot of issues with his hip but now he's so strong. Like getting him any stronger is not going to make him any better.
Really?
He can deadlift out of the room. I mean, like how much you don't need a 800-pound deadlift to ride a motorcycle.
What could he do? You reckon?
If I did it like in a Russian
even just
build
like
up program right now,
like
he could do 5 plates if I said, okay, I don't care if you get hurt, just fucking lift this thing off the ground. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So every year we've learned, and he barely has to lift anymore. I could lift, I make him lift, and he hates it sometimes, but because but I'd go, you got to maintain it at least. You're not gonna, we're like Levi and Tom have a long way to go. They
need to lift.
They need to lift, and so they do. And like for instance, Chase isn't lifting this week. He needs to rest. He has a little sinus infection. I'm like, no, that's too much of your energy pie. You just stay away.
Yeah.
And in boot camp next year, I've already thought about it. I mean, Chase probably will do a lot more like cardio stuff with him. He'll of course he'll lift, but I won't do quite as much. He doesn't need. I mean, he's there. It's very easy to maintain strength once you got it.
Okay.
Super easy. A few reps of 80%. Every week.
You're basically just reminding your muscle what
you're not going to lose it.
Yeah.
It's not. Once you got it, it takes a long time to get it, and it's not just getting it; it's learning how to do it right. And lifting's a skill. People don't see it that way, but you can go in and see a really good lifter and a really shitty one.
For sure.
So I always want my guys. Okay, if people see them in the gym, like, oh fuck, he has a good trainer. They know how to do it. I can watch someone do a kettlebell swing and know if they've had a good teacher or not.
Yeah.
In 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Just the way they do the way they breathe, the way they swing the bell, if they're hinging or squatting or whatever they're doing, you can see it. And okay, just a kettlebell swing, you can see like, okay, this guy's had a good teacher, or he hasn't. One of the two. So Chase doesn't really need any more strength. In fact, he could lose a little muscle actually if he wanted to. He's a big guy, but again, like you said, the new breed, the triathlete that's winning everything is 185 pounds.
Really?
This guy from Norway. I mean, like, unbelievable. He's 100, and he's going 7 hours something in an Ironman, and he's all about. It used to be about okay, how thin can you get, and how
Yeah.
He's like, I got to eat enough to stay in positive energy balance to do the kind of training I need to do this kind of work and to do this kind of times. And so it's kind of changed. And he's chunky. He's a little chunky. If you watch him run, it's like, oh, he's got some fat on him. But Chase doesn't need to lose. I mean, like everything they say, oh, you need to be so lean to be on a no. I mean, if your body type is, to be thin like Levi, he has to. I mean, Levi can't keep weight on. We have to, like, during his off season and during his off weeks, I'm like, dude, you got to gain 5 pounds. We need you 170 by outdoors. Yeah. You can't be 160 when you start outdoors. It's just going to go down from there.
Yeah.
And you're going to get sick, or you're going to get we need to start a little overweight or a couple pounds up.
Yeah.
Because if you get to outdoors and you're 160 and already on that, peaking weight, then you have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So we really worked on gaining some weight on the, but it's got to be a job for him.
Yeah.
Where Chase is the opposite. I go, dude, stop eating. It's like he'll just eat. It's not like it's just like stop eating junk. You need to be 180. You can't, because if Chase ate like he wanted to,
he'd be 220.
Oh, he just looked like he looked like his dad's a big guy.
Yeah.
And he can't. So I have to kind of really watch what Chase's what he eats. He's a different, where Kenny when he was young could eat whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Now, if he's not careful, he'll get chunky. Not chunky, but you know what I mean, for him.
Yeah.
He's got his diet dialed with, the carnivore. He's kind of a carnivore kind of guy, and it's helped his immunity and stuff. So So everyone's, that's the thing. The diet's way different and we're like Tom, is pretty kind of in between.
He just eats baguettes and.
Well, I have to work with him on that. No, but he's grew up in Europe and it's a little different. But Tom's mentally very strong.
Yeah,
like he's a grind. I just saw him in boot camp. On bike rides, I could just see that quiet, like I'm gonna fucking kick your ass on this hill, like you're not, no 58-year-olds beating me up this hill. I don't care. I'll die before I let you beat me.
Yeah.
He's, so that group is really fun. Those three guys, they work really well together. It's fun for me but it is different because they
all need such different things.
Yeah, like Chase doesn't need the strength that Levi and Tom does. Like I said, in boot camp next year, I'm already thinking about like, okay, we'll mellow out a little bit more on the weights with Chase, and that's what I like about Chase. He's open, and I talk to him, and he agrees. We talk, and we'll go, okay. He'll go, I just think I could be a little leaner up top, and which is fine. Like when I worked with Lance, like his coach Brunel used to just rail me if I did anything. He told me I want the legs of a power lifter and the upper body of a 12-year-old girl. He goes, that's what because Lance was like Chase.
Really?
Lance was 190.
Lance is a big dude.
Lance was 190 in the off season, and he had to be 162 at the tour.
Really?
Yeah, and he would every year he'd be 185, 190. Just his body, he had to be way thinner than. I mean, it's different in the you can't be 185 and climb those hills of the Tour de France.
No,
you're not. It's not happening. You're not. I don't care. In triathlon it's flat and you don't have to climb the hills. But Lance had to be that straight, and he only did it like 3 weeks before the tour.
Cut the weight.
Yeah, he didn't care about any other race but the tour.
Yeah.
So he'd be 190 in like December, and then during the classics maybe 175, 180, and then in June like the Dauphiné or something. That's when he would start to we'd see him start to dominate, and that's where he just had his body weight. He had it down to a science. Like that's the one thing I learned from watching Lance is he had that same formula every fucking year. Like he knew what worked. The same kind of training, the same eating, like what worked, what races worked. And that's what we're with the young guys and with Chase, like, okay, what is your program that we can reproduce every year?
Yeah.
So far with Chase, we've tweaked it a little bit every year. It's the same, it's similar, but just every year we kind of go, okay, this, we talk at the end of the year, okay, what do you think we can change this year? What, let's talk about what went wrong, what, did you get a little tired here, tired there? And then we'll just kind of write stuff down and start with, like this year, I think it's going to be a little less lifting, a little more cardio stuff for Chase.
Yeah.
It's not like he gets tired, he doesn't. But I just think, a little more fitness and maybe being 176, 77, let's try that.
Yeah.
And see how you feel.
What height is he?
He's probably 6 foot, 6'1".
Yeah.
But he's just built like a brick shit house.
Yeah, because I'm 175, 178, 180.
But if you look Chase with his shirt off, he looks like a football player.
Yeah, that's something. Like it seems.
It's not like he has any body fat. He doesn't have any body fat. I mean,
Yeah.
In the off season, he can. When he comes to boot camp, he's a little fat.
Yeah.
But I mean,
You kind of want that in a way, though.
yeah, of course. I want him to. I want you 190 when you get here.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.